So picture this. You just stepped outside, and you are immediately slapped in the face by this sweltering 110-degree Florida summer heat.
Oh, yeah, you're sweating before you even hit the parking lot.
Exactly. You feel like you're stuck in a classic noir detective scene, right?
True.
But instead of the gritty, rain-slick streets of 1940s Los Angeles, you're smack in the middle of a modern, neon-soaked tourist trap.
Which is such a great visual.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking the narrative and the honestly incredible layers of Christopher Hrnovich's story, The Case of the Faded Star and the Golden Safe, the Raccoon Lake robbery.
It's quite a title.
It is. We've got the source material right in front of us, and our mission today is to crack open this case. We're going to look at what it tells us about wealth, desperation, and the things we completely miss right in front of our own eyes.
The setting is really what anchors this entire narrative. I mean, it operates as a masterclass in contrasting the lives of the ultra-wealthy with those who are quite literally desperate for survival.
Yeah.
Hrnovich uses the framework of a classic hard-boiled detective story, but he completely subverts it to explore some intense, modern social dynamics.
So let's unpack this and set the scene for everyone listening. Our protagonist is Detective Jack Savage, a private eye running the Blackjack Detective Agency. And when we meet him, he is not exactly living the glamorous life of a high society sleuth.
Not at all.
He's sitting in this retro spot called the Five and Diner. And if you've ever been to one of these places, you know the vibe.
Oh, the Formica countertops?
Right, the red cushioned stools, that lingering smell of old frying oil. He's listening to Billy Joel's Piano Man, playing on a nickel-operated jukebox.
Classic.
And he is deep in conversation with a guy named Flip. Flip is this philosophical burger flipper wearing a sweat-stained t-shirt. And Jack is currently dealing with an incredibly specific, heart attack-inducing meal.
Just a brutal order.
We're talking 2 chili dogs, an order of fries just absolutely drowned in thick cheddar cheese sauce, and a strawberry milkshake so thick it could bend a spoon.
It's a deliberately heavy sensory introduction. You know, you can practically smell the grease and hear the diner chatter.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it establishes Jack as a guy who is profoundly grounded in the working class reality of this town. He's trading life advice with a short-order cook. He feels entirely detached from that polished, wealthy tourist side of Florida that most people travel there to see.
Right up until his phone buzzes, which is our inciting incident here. Jack's phone goes off, and it startles him so much he actually drops a massive blob of chili right onto his shirt.
Of course he does.
On the other end of the line is a guy with a thick French accent named Leon Dupree. He's the manager of the incredibly exclusive Champions Ridge Resort.
So immediately, worlds colliding.
Exactly. Now, you might be wondering, why is the manager of a luxury resort calling a guy eating chili dogs in a diner? It all comes back to a guy named Rocky Fatu.
Right, Rocky.
Jack apparently helped Rocky out once and gave him a single business card. Now, Rocky just hands him out to his poker buddies like flyers at a street fair.
Which is such a funny detail.
Dupree is desperate, though. He needs Jack for a highly discreet, sensitive situation. And against his better judgment, Jack takes the case.
Which forces Jack to make the literal and metaphorical journey from his gritty, neon-lit reality right into the belly of the beast, the insulated land of the 1%.
The drive itself is a whole ordeal, and it tells you so much about who Jack is. He is sweating it out in a classic Studebaker that doesn't even have air conditioning.
In Florida summer heat.
Yeah, but here's the detail that really stands out. He refuses to use those electronic toll passes that auto-deduct from your windshield. He actually pulls over, stops to pay the $5 in cash at the toll booths, and demands a paper receipt every single time.
If we look under the surface of this routine, it highlights a profound paranoia. Jack refuses the electronic passes because he firmly believes that Florida agencies will use those digital trackers to watch him.
Wow.
He thinks they're just waiting for him to stray into the wrong part of town so they can pin something on him.
It's a deep-seated mistrust of the system.
Precisely. He assumes the system is fundamentally rigged against him, and this avoidance of digital tracking actually foreshadows the technological elements of the mystery he's about to solve.
That makes a lot of sense.
This mindset perfectly frames his arrival at the Champions Ridge Resort, which is located near the Leaky Tiki in the tourist corridor. The contrast is jarring. Think about your own experiences driving past these hyper-exclusive gated communities.
Yeah, we've all seen them.
You have Jack sweating through his chili-stained shirt in a hot stewed baker, pulling up to a world of absolute absurd luxury.
It really is like pulling up to another planet. You've got private cabanas, valet service specifically for golf carts, and a sleek guard shack. But the guard shack isn't just for show. There is a young kid working there who is weighed down with a taser and a can of pepper spray big enough to drop a bear.
The author uses this arrival sequence to emphasize the sheer aggressive insulation of wealth. As Jack rolls past the iron gates, he observes the towering luxury villas and manicured greens.
And he notices the workers, too.
Right. What really catches his eye, and what you as the reader are meant to focus on, are the resort housekeepers. Jack notices them emerging from behind decorative trash crates, tossing garbage into rattling gas-powered carts, moving quickly and invisibly.
They are explicitly trained to be unseen by the wealthy guests.
Exactly. This immediately highlights the massive class divide that's about to become the center of the mystery.
And that brings us right into Dupree's freezing, mahogany-lined office to meet the clients and hear about the crime. Jack walks in, and the tension in the room is palpable.
Oh, yeah.
We meet our client, Vivian Kincade. Now, she was a one-hit wonder back in 1997. She had this sultry, chart-topping cover of I Think I Love You, and was famous for an album cover that actually got banned in Jack's high school.
Which naturally just made every teenager want it more.
Obviously. And she's sitting there with her manager, Zachary Adams.
The crime they are reporting is staggering. They claim a rare yellow diamond ring set in 24-karat gold has been stolen straight from the digital safe in their villa.
And the value of this ring, $30 million.
$30 million sitting in a resort safe.
And who are they accusing of this massive heist? A 20-year-old housekeeper named Carmen. When Jack walks into the office, Carmen is sitting on a leather couch, crying in frantic Spanish while being guarded by two rent-a-cops like she's an international flight risk.
This is where the narrative shifts gears entirely. Jack steps into this room, assesses the power dynamic, and naturally tries to de-escalate the situation. He wants to bypass the angry manager and the diva and speak to the accused directly.
So he tries out his rusty high school Spanish. He says, "Hola, me llamo Jack Savage." It does not go well at all.
Yeah.
He botches the pronunciation, and she just looks at him, confused and deeply terrified.
Sure.
So Dupree, the resort manager, offers to translate. But the moment Dupree introduces Jack in her native language, Carmen absolutely loses it.
Total panic.
She bolts from her seat, screaming in blind panic, kicking and thrashing before the rent-a-cops tackle her back down. And Jack is just standing there thinking, what on earth did you just tell her?
It's a completely disproportionate reaction to meeting a private investigator, which raises a critical question for Jack. Why such extreme terror? Dupree explains that he simply translated Jack's title as private detective.
Right.
But to Carmen, that phrase carries a horrifying weight. In her home country, private detective doesn't mean a guy in a trench coat solving burglaries. It translates to the secret police, the death squads.
Suddenly, Jack realizes he isn't dealing with a simple tourist theft. Carmen is in America on a work visa, but the reality is she is actively seeking asylum from a totalitarian regime, a regime where justice belongs only to the ruling class, and if you try to escape or step out of line, the secret police shoot you in the back.
And we should pause here to make something very clear to everyone listening. The source material is very careful with this topic. It isn't making a broad political statement or taking sides.
Right, and neither are we. We're just impartially looking at what the source provides.
Exactly. The author is just establishing the factual, grounded reality of Carmen's specific geopolitical background. It elevates the stakes to an agonizing level for our protagonist. This young woman is terrified, completely vulnerable, and facing unimaginable consequences if this missing ring isn't found.
It's literally life or death situation. Dupree tells Jack that if Carmen is fired over this accusation, or if she's handed over to the real police for a $30 million theft, her work visa will be revoked immediately. She will be deported.
And deportation means facing physical torture, psychological torture, and execution back home.
The starkest, most brutal part of this scene is observing how Vivian Kincade reacts to this revelation. Does she show an ounce of empathy for a woman facing torture? Not at all.
She's completely callous.
She actually demands that Carmen be strip-searched and beaten until she confesses. She assumes, completely without evidence, that Carmen stole the ring to smuggle her and Vivian's words thieving clan into America.
It's incredibly dark. Vivian isn't really grieving a stolen piece of jewelry. She's clinging to 1997. Without that ring, she's just a washed-up singer in a cheap Florida resort.
Yeah.
She's willing to let a young woman be deported to a death squad just to avoid facing her own irrelevance. That psychological profile is spot on. For Vivian, who is desperate to stay relevant, the ring is her armor. She doesn't view Carmen as a human being in danger. She views her as an obstacle to her own ego.
The author uses this dynamic to expose the merciless underbelly of immense wealth and fading fame. And Jack, realizing a young woman's life is literally hanging in the balance, loses his patience. He barks at everyone to shut up.
Good for him.
He sends the diva and her manager out to the lobby and gets Carmen to write down her statement with Dupree translating. Then Jack demands to see the scene of the crime. Adams and Vivian take him to the villa. And imagine this transport situation. They aren't in a limo. They're in a maintenance-grade, resort-issued golf cart because private vehicles aren't allowed on the paths.
It's so absurd.
Jack's holding onto a metal bar in the back, sweating in the humidity, while Vivian is practically digging her acrylic nails into his thigh.
There is this bizarre, almost tragicomic dynamic between Jack and Vivian during this ride. She attempts to play the sultry femme fatale, fixating on Jack as a real man who is willing to do whatever it takes to get her property back.
And what is she actually fixated on? The dried chili stain crusted beneath his collarbone from his dropped dinner.
That is hilarious.
She sees it as this rugged badge of honor, like he's some battle-hardened tough guy. Jack is just standing there thinking, great, I've attracted a washed-up diva with delusions of noir romance. But he stays completely focused on the job. They finally arrive at the villa's messy walk-in closet to check the safe.
The mechanics of the safe are vital to unraveling the mystery. Jack inspects it and asks for the code. The code is 1997, unsurprisingly, the year of Vivian's big hit. When Jack opens it, the $30 million ring is gone, but the safe isn't empty.
Right. Inside, there's just an empty black velvet box, 2 airline tickets, a stack of pre-signed headshots, and a cheap men's watch with a dead battery.
Just a pile of irrelevance.
Yeah, so Jack starts pressing Zach Adams. He asks the obvious question. If the code hasn't changed, and there are no signs of forced entry, how does a ring just vanish from a locked digital safe?
And Zach's reaction is very telling.
He's dodging the questions, he's acting weirdly casual about the whole thing, suggesting they just let the insurance company handle the $30 million claim. Jack is getting a stress migraine from these people. So he says he needs some fresh air and steps out onto the porch.
And this is where the detective work truly shines. It's all about observation. Jack's out there on the porch, getting away from the noise of Vivian and Zach. He leans over the railing and hawks a loogie into a flower bed.
Classic Jack behavior.
Very on brand. But as he does, his eyes catch movement out on the resort's private lake.
He sees Gus, the resort groundskeeper, out in a small rowboat. Gus is messing with a floating light fixture in the water, looking frantic. From the shore, a supervisor is yelling at Gus to hurry up and finish because they don't want to pay him overtime.
Such a great little vignette of working class life.
Right, and Jack watches this little interaction, files it away in his brain, and goes back inside the villa. He grabs this flimsy paper coffee cup that Adams had handed him earlier, and as he's taking a sip, he feels something stuck to the bottom of the cup. He peels it off. It's a laminated card, the smoking gun.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
It reads, "Instructions for programming and reprogramming your digital safe."
The discovery of that card is the turning point. It's a brilliant piece of physical evidence because it completely unravels the illusion Zach and Vivian are trying to project. Jack now knows exactly how to spring his trap, and he knows exactly who to corner.
He marches everyone back into Dupree's freezing office. Carmen is still on the sofa with her handlers, looking terrified. Vivian is still demanding her ring. Jack steps up to the center of the room and hands that laminated instruction card directly to Carmen.
Such a power move.
Then he turns to Zach Adams and flat out asks him where the ring is. Zach starts stammering, trying to build a lie in real time. He claims Carmen must have used baby powder on the safe's keypad to see which buttons were pressed most often, and they used trial and error to guess the combination and open it.
But Jack and Dupree systematically destroy this theory, and this is where we need to really look at the technological reality of the situation. Zach is relying on movie tropes, but Jack relies on facts.
Yeah, the baby powder thing only works in bad heist movies.
Right. First, Jack points out the obvious flaw in Zach's narrative. Carmen cannot read, write, or understand English. She couldn't possibly read the reprogramming instructions on the card Jack found stuck to the coffee cup. She couldn't have bypassed the system.
And then Dupree steps in to deliver the final blow regarding the safe itself.
Exactly. Dupree explains that this isn't some cheap 1990s hotel lockbox. The digital safes at Champions Ridge are state-of-the-art. You cannot just guess a code with trial and error using baby powder.
It would lock you out.
Exactly. If the wrong code is entered too many times, the system doesn't just beep, it goes into a total lockdown. Opening it after lockdown requires 2 physical encrypted keys held by upper management and a literal video conference with the manufacturer to verify the override.
So Zach's baby powder theory is absolute garbage, and Jack knows it. He corners Zach. He points out that Zach was the last one to handle the ring, the code was never changed, and Zach clearly doesn't have the ring on him. Jack looks him dead in the eye and says, "You handed it off to an accomplice. Anyone willing to split the insurance payout."
And under the weight of that logic, Zach finally cracks.
It's so satisfying.
The emotional climax of this mystery isn't a shootout, it's a pathetic confession. The truth comes out and it strips away all the glamour. Zach confesses that this so-called massive comeback tour is a complete fabrication. There is no major label backing them. There are no sponsors.
It's all fake.
They are paying for everything. The theme park venues, the luxury resort rooms, the food, straight out of their own dwindling pockets. It's a failing, self-funded disaster. Zach staged the robbery because they are broke, and he desperately wanted that $30 million insurance payout to save them from financial ruin.
He palmed the ring before closing the safe. And remember Gus, the groundskeeper? The guy Jack saw out on the lake.
Yep, the guy by the light fixture.
Zach gave Gus the ring and promised him $50,000 to hide it. Gus took it and hid it in the floating fountain out in the lake, which is exactly what Jack saw him messing with from the porch.
But the narrative gives us a fascinating twist of conscience here. Gus didn't want the $50,000 out of pure greed. He wanted the money to help Carmen. He knew about her situation and wanted to help her bring her family to America safely.
That's incredibly touching.
It is. And when Gus found out that Carmen was the one being accused of the theft and realized the horrific danger she was in regarding her asylum status, he felt incredibly guilty. When Jack saw him in the rowboat, Gus wasn't securing the ring. He was out at the fountain trying to figure out how to retrieve it and return it.
It's a massive relief. The mystery is solved. Zach is now facing severe criminal charges from Dupree for fraud, not to mention the absolute wrath of a betrayed Vivian Kincade, who realizes her manager just tried to gamble away her last valuable possession.
She must have been furious.
Oh, beyond furious. Most importantly, though, Carmen is cleared. Her visa is safe, and she isn't going to be deported. And Jack. After saving a woman's life and untangling a multi-million-dollar scam, Jack just wants to go home. And he executes one of the most deeply satisfying, petty exits I have ever read in a story like this.
It is a moment of pure, grounded vindication for a guy who has been talked down to all night.
He walks out to his hot Studebaker. Remember that meal he dropped? He opens the car door, and the sour stench of that strawberry milkshake and cheddar cheese, which has been sitting and fermenting in the 110-degree Florida heat for hours, just hits him like a physical punch.
Disgusting.
So what does Jack do? He doesn't look for a trash can. He rolls down the windows, drives over to the valet, and dumps the rancid, fermented mess right next to Zach Adams' pristine golf cart.
A fitting, visceral reward for a guy who made Jack miss his dinner over a selfish insurance scam.
So the case is closed. Jack is driving home on Interstate 4. The sun is finally down. The heat is breaking a little bit. He's feeling pretty good about himself. He's thinking about maybe swinging back by the 5 and diner to see Flip, getting his life back on track, and really building up his detective agency. Then, his broken phone. The exact same phone that started this whole crazy night with Dupree's call buzzes again.
And this transition is crucial. Here is where the narrative shifts violently from a slick, glitzy resort scam to a profoundly devastating personal reality for Jack. The high of solving the case evaporates the moment he answers the phone.
The voice on the other end of the line is furious. It's a woman named Sam. Now, Sam works at a place called Coconuts in Cocoa Beach. But more importantly for Jack, Sam is the woman his ex-girlfriend Katrina left him for 3 months ago.
Ouch.
Yeah. Sam is screaming at Jack through the speaker, calling him a self-serving prick. She demands to know where he was when Katrina was desperately texting him for days after she packed her bags and walked out.
Jack is completely bewildered. He tells Sam the truth.
Yeah.
The phone has been turned off and sitting in a dark drawer for 3 months. He only just turned it on tonight to take the resort case. He had no idea anyone was trying to reach him.
But Sam doesn't care about his excuses. She tells him to go screw himself and hangs up the phone. And then Jack actually looks at the phone screen.
This part is so tough to read.
He pulls the phone away from his ear. And there, in the top left corner of that cracked screen, he sees it. A tiny envelope icon, Unread messages. He floors it. He rushes home, making it back to his apartment in under 45 minutes. He sits down in the quiet, opens the display, and starts scrolling.
The realization must have been crushing.
It was.
Yeah.
There is a massive trail of messages from Katrina. Long, angry, sad, desperate messages that tell the entire story of the days immediately after she walked out. He reads through all her pain, all her attempts to reach out. And the very last message in the thread, sent weeks ago, just says, "I love you. Goodbye, Kate Ash."
It's an absolute gut punch to the reader and to Jack. He just drops the phone on the coffee table and stares at it. In that quiet apartment, he realizes he needs time. Time to build his agency, yes, but mostly time to process the immense personal tragedy he completely missed because he chose to shut the world out.
We started with an incredible journey in the sources. A sweltering Florida diner, a fake $30 million insurance scam, an innocent refugee saved from deportation and a brutal regime. But we end up right here, in Jack's quiet, devastating living room.
The ultimate irony of Jack Savage's existence is what makes this story resonate so deeply beyond a simple mystery. Jack possesses this incredible hyper-awareness. He can walk into a room of millionaires, see right through their polished lies, deconstruct a complex digital safe scam, and essentially save a vulnerable young woman's life using just his observational skills.
But his personal life is a blind spot.
Exactly. He was completely blind to the unspooling tragedy in his own home. His incredible powers of deduction failed him where it mattered most, simply because he had turned his device and his attention off.
It really makes you stop and evaluate your own life.
No.
We spend so much energy analyzing the motives of the people around us, right? Think about it. We're always trying to crack the codes of our professional lives, our social circles, the news, the media. We want to solve the mysteries out in the world and figure out everyone else's angle.
We all do it.
But how often do you completely miss the unread messages in your own life, simply because you've chosen to keep your screens and your heart shut down? It's a heavy, provocative thought for you to mull over today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the sources, and we'll catch you next time.